You win some and you lose some, unless you're in Fromville, and then you lose pretty much every single time and barely ever win any time. If you haven't seen the season 4 finale of From, go ahead and skadoodle because there's going to be some spoilers and I want to talk about what exactly happened to Fatima and how exactly did it happen. Fatima's officially become one of the monsters that's always haunted the town, and it's because of two things. First, Fatima's nightmare pregnancy did unknowable things to her anatomy. I mean, after going from eating all of that rotten food to then drinking all of that blood and then giving birth to the monster, I can only imagine that that would change a lot about the human body. And we saw what the inside of the monsters looked like when Christy did the autopsy on Smiley. So I think the combination of being pregnant with Smiley and then eating all the rotten food and drinking the blood feeds into how Sophia was saying how you do something is just as important as what is done. And the second thing that's critical to this process that Fatima went through was some of Sophia's blood. Now, I know that there's been other people within the town who have also drank some of Sophia's blood, but I think that Sophia works with intentions. Like her intentions with Henry was to make him question his reality. Sophia's intention with giving Fatima her blood is to speed up the process of turning her into a monster. Now, I do think that what happened to Fatima is just one of the many ways that people can become the monsters of the town. If somehow the town figures out how to kill a monster, then one of the residents becomes pregnant with that same monster and then becomes a monster themselves. Not only do the residents think they killed the monster, but then that monster not only comes back, but then takes one of the residents and turns them into a monster as well, which is pretty crazy. But I think that there are a plethora of other ways that the man in yellow / Sophia can turn people into those monsters, which is what I do think Sophia's bargain includes. She's gonna let them go home by turning them into a monster and turning the town into their home. But now that Fatima's gone through this really traumatic transformation, it gives me a really sad feeling that she's not gonna be able to leave with everyone else if they figure this out. I feel like her turning into a monster almost curses her to stay stuck in that town forever, which part of me wonders if Ellis would make some kind of deal as well to also stay in the town to be with Fatima. I don't know, just food for thought though. Elgin and Marielle may not have been my favorite characters, but they certainly deserve far better than what they got. Now, I had predicted Marielle's demise back a couple of episodes ago, so seeing her get got this episode wasn't entirely surprising. However, it was extremely heartbreaking, and honestly, it was far worse than what I thought it was going to be. Marielle was just trying to defend Fatima when Smiley slashed her in the stomach. So while Marielle is trying to process this fatal wound she just received, she also sees Fatima just letting out this same screech that Smiley's letting out. So that level of confusion of not only seeing Fatima do that, but then also knowing that you're bleeding out, I feel so bad for Marielle. And all she wanted was for Christy to be at her side. And when Christy was able to get to her side, the only thing she asked Christy for was one last kiss goodbye. And I swear I'm gonna be hearing Christy's wails and sobs in my sleep. Absolutely heartbreaking. No one knowing that Elgin died at Sophia's hands is really gonna end up complicating things. And I wonder how long it's gonna be before anyone actually ends up noticing. While Elgin made a lot of really questionable decisions and a lot of really dumb decisions there at the end, I am really proud of him for not taking Sophia's bargain. I made a prediction back before season 4 that he was gonna be a potential threat, taking some kind of deal with the man in yellow and the monsters, and he did not. So I'm proud of Elgin, especially after everything that Boyd and Sarah put him through. But he stayed strong, he didn't let Sophia manipulate him, and he got one last prayer off before he finally met his end. And I stand by it. If he hadn't shown Sophia that photo, he probably would have survived into the final season. I don't think he would have been one of the people to make it home, but I definitely think he would have made it to the final season if he hadn't shown Sophia that photo. A lot of the Fromville residents are about to have an experience they've never had before. It's an experience that very few in town have had. With 99% of the talismans being stolen by Sophia and thrown down the faraway tree, a lot of residents are about to experience their first night without a talisman to protect them. But I don't think Sophia and Clara got all of the talismans. I know that we don't see Sophia and Clara go into every single building to gather every single talisman. However, we don't see any signs that Sophia or Clara go up to the clinic. And if you remember, Marielle actually dropped the talisman when Smiley came into the room. And I don't remember Smiley bending down to grab that talisman at all. So I'm pretty sure that that talisman is still in that room. But there's another talisman that I don't think Sophia or Clara or any of the monsters grabbed. And that's the talisman that Jade and Tabitha took down into the tunnels with them when they went to go dig up the children's bones. Now, why did Sophia take the talismans to begin with? Well, it's to initiate the next part of the cycle, which is going to be an absolute chaotic mess. People are going to be panicking because they don't know where the talismans went, so they're going to start pointing fingers at people with who stole the talismans and who's at fault for why everyone is there. Cough, cough, Jade. Taking the talismans is going to initiate a mass hysteria, causing people to be extremely irrational and violent. But with 1 to 2 talismans still out there still is a chance for them to find safety after the sun goes down. Now, if getting rid of the talismans is part of the cycle and it's something that has to happen, then that makes me think that the talismans have been found in previous cycles. They just weren't found during Victor's childhood when the last cycle was happening. I would hate to be in that town in a cycle where they didn't find the talismans. The boy in white and the man in yellow are both playing the same game. They are certainly not playing by the same rules. The relationship that these two have is kind of confusing me. It feels almost familial, kind of like Sophia is an older sibling to the boy in white, or maybe the man in yellow / Sophia is some kind of like older family relative, like an aunt and uncle or something like that. And I feel this particularly after Sophia makes a jab at the boy in white about how grown he's gotten. The boy in white is extremely confident that the man in yellow / Sophia is going to lose this time. And that's mostly because the residents were able to find the children's bones. But Sophia's not convinced because they also don't have the bottle tree anymore. So it seems that both the boy in white and the man in yellow / Sophia have won and lost in some kind of aspect going into this final part of the cycle. You might be asking yourself, why can the man in yellow interfere so directly with the town and its residents, but the boy in white is so indirect and vague with any help that he gives them? I think it's because the boy in white has tried to help the town for centuries, and for centuries he's failed every time. And so ultimately the boy in white is just tired of losing, and he feels that no matter how much he helps these people, nothing's gonna matter because there's still gonna lose to the man in yellow. But I feel like he's starting to get a little hopeful now that Jade and Tabitha have dug up the children's bones. And I'm going into season 5 really wanting the boy in white to have a more direct hand in what's going on within the town, and maybe even making a few bargains himself. Anything to beat the man in yellow at this point. I don't know, I just hope to see the boy in white actually start to help Victor and Ethan to be able to make sure that everyone gets to go home this time. The man in yellow gets to break some rules, why can't the boy in white? I cannot wait for season 5 and to see how they're able to end up closing out this story. What were your thoughts on season 4 as a whole, and what were moments within this episode that really stuck out to you? Go ahead and drop your thoughts in the comments below and let me know.